He clicked out. Good evening. I can't wait to get started with tonight. Like, I'm super excited about this conversation. Truly excited. And I hope some of you are as well. It is Healing Tuesday, and I'm super excited about it. There went Tokyo. He doesn't want any healing tonight. My name is Dr. Tori J. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. Hey, Becca. And I am on here tonight because it is Healing Tuesday. Every Tuesday night, I come on, 9 o'clock is my time. My computer, I don't care how early I log on to this thing, it gives me rainbow wheel. You guys pray for my new computer. I need a new computer, and I need my new MacBook Pro. My old one has kind of definitely had its time. And so it's on its last leg, but that's okay. It's still working, and I am here. And tonight we're going to talk about one of the topics that was sent to me. But I had to do some research and kind of, deal with my own conversations surrounding this, because talking about co-parenting is one thing, but making it relevant to the conversations that we have on Tuesday night was another thing. And I needed to make it relevant. I needed to make it about fatherlessness in some way, shape, or form, simply because that's who we are. That's what this page is about. And we are here to help you deal with those issues. Hey, Nydia. And so dealing with those things concerning co-parenting, many people are like, well, I can't co-parent with a narcissist, and I can't co-parent with a person who has personality or borderline personality disorder, and I can't co-parent with a person who's always angry, and it's like, it's such high conflict, it becomes impossible. But I wanted to do enough research and cut and paste some of the stuff that I had been reading, and just really I leaned to what are some of the issues that fatherless individuals have. And I focused on 3 in particular, and I allowed those 3 to lead me into why your co-parenting is such an issue and how fatherlessness is impacting your co-parenting. Prayerfully, once a magnifying glass is on it, you'll be able to see it and do some work in order to deal with it, right? That's the mission on Tuesday nights. We want to get you the help that you need. Yep, see, Becca said truth. My mother is a borderline. So is mine. We want to get you the truth that you need so that you can do the work that's necessary for you to have the outcomes in life that you desire. But if you never do the work, let me say it this way, if you never hear the truth, you won't be able to do the work. So let's go to the first thing. How many of you got the journaling? I know at first it was messed up and I fixed it. How many of you got the journal and you did at least some journaling last week concerning the conversation we had last week? And I made the journaling very easy. So if you did some of the journaling, hit 1. If you did not, do number 2 and put it in the box. Let me say it that way. Put 1 if you did it, 2 if you didn't. Because I think it's important to understand how truth is seen. And I see Linda on here. And Nydia. Did not. Okay. All right. I made it super easy. I didn't even add any questions to it, really. I just made it a place where you could come and just get started. I was trying to make it real easy for you. Anybody else? If you did the journaling from last week, put 1 in the box. If you did not do it, put 2 in the box. I want to see who actually did it, because this is about truth. When you're able to see your truth down on paper, Linda and I talked about this today. Seeing your truth on paper makes it real, but seeing your truth on paper makes it real in a way where you can do the work. Some of us don't want to know who we are, and we don't want to deal with our thoughts, but our thoughts are still leading and directing us. Our thoughts are still creating a journey that we're just completely unaware of most of the time, because we think that those thoughts are fleeting and they're not. Okay, so I guess no one did the journaling. Interesting. Well, I'm going to add a new one this week. See what happens for next week. So this is what I want to do this week. Because I don't even know how I'm going to do it, because I have a book that I was going to give away for 2 people who did the journal. And this is a really, 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 really good book. It's called The Father You Always Wanted, How God Heals Your Father Wound. I'll save them for next week. Every week now I'm going to be giving away some stuff. My husband was like, you got all this stuff. You got t-shirts, you got this, you need. He helping y'all out. I grabbed the books and I was like, oh yeah, I've got these books that were sent to me by the author. And I was like, oh, I can give some of those away. And then he was like, well, wait, you got this and this. So every week I'm going to do some giveaways. So I just want you guys to know, hey, if you do the work, learn your truth, who knows? It could be you who get the gift. Nonetheless, I'm not here to harp on it. I know that many of you were afraid to do it in the first place because seeing your thoughts down on paper like that really worried you. But I need for you to know that it's for you. It's for your benefit. I would never have you do anything. We finally unloaded our library. Did I tell you guys? Like, this is the reason I'm kind of in makeshift mode. I am preparing a beautiful little place for you guys where you'll be able to see my Facebook Lives. But we are still getting settled in Fort Lauderdale. I have moved from Atlanta. The Fort Lauderdale office is still in Atlanta. Fort Lauderdale has now become home number 1. Atlanta's home number 2. That's what I call it. And then I still don't have everything unpacked. Whoops. I still don't have everything unpacked. Oh, I'm seeing everything now. And now that we're unloading everything, all of my journals are out. My husband was like, there's only a few here, right? There's only a few here. The rest of them are in Atlanta in storage. And he was looking at them because after you've used them so long, that binder, that part that binds it starts to flap off. And he was laughing at me because there's so many up there where the back part is missing. But journaling is for you. I would never ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do. And that has not brought me not only healing, but tremendous joy. To be able to go back and see where I was, to be able to go back and now see where I was and where I am. And even some of the notes that I've taken about goals and things that I've set, in many ways, I've exceeded a lot of the goals that I've put down for myself. And in doing that, now I have to create new goals, but it makes me proud to know that I was able to achieve those things. Even when I was writing them down, I was like, there's no way I'm ever going to get this done. And I've gotten that and then some done. So I'm just telling you, I would never ask you to do something that has not brought me tremendous joy. Oh, look, Becca said, oh, dang, yeah. Yeah, that's the kicker. Hey, Lauren, how are you? That is one of my dear, dear friends. I have thousands of feelings written down. I get it. So what I want you to do is specifically journal about what that journal was about. Just print it off. It's a Google document. You can go in and access it anytime. I won't remove it, and I'll add another one to it this week. Several of you who came on, I think Mari was another one. She wanted to find out. Oh no, she put down on the comment. She said, "All right, ooh-wee." She was like nervous and ready to go, but I'm hoping to see her on here tonight. But once again, those who journal next week. I don't know if it'll be this next week. We'll see what happens. See, the light is messing up. But this is a really good book. Let me read you I'm going to read some of the chapters before I get into this co-parenting part. But it's called The Father You've Always Wanted, How God Heals Your Father Wound. One that I like, what did your father name you? And it gets into like the names and what that means. The Father You Always Wanted, No More Orphans, The Trap of Making a Name for Yourself, Meeting Your Father. Come on, somebody. What does the Father, the Heavenly Father, think about me? The difference of a present mom and dad. And then he has this place where it's the Father's game plan to winning back your family. So some of you are alienated. Some of you have challenges, whatever that is, you have to understand. Oh, Becca said, don't lie, people, don't lie. Becca, I'm not going to let them lie about whether or not they journaled. There's a way to find out. Hey, Dwayne. Is this Becca's husband on here or significant other? I'll say it that way. But let's get into this tonight. How my fatherlessness is impacting my ability to co-parent. Big conversation, big deal, because a lot of people who grow up in fatherless households find themselves having to co-parent with someone at some point in time, because there are situations that happen in our lives that I won't even say are out of our control, but they just happen to be things that happen in our lives along our journey. And our journey is messy. Our journey has its ups and downs. Our journey has, it's different. And we have to just go along with that. I am a bonus mom. I don't know if you guys knew that. I mean, I don't call it that all the time, but just because she's 23, she was 18 when we got married, but she is my husband's daughter. And so I have seen their ability to co-parent, the challenges that he faces. And I typically don't step into this role, especially if I'm not. Well, welcome to the conversation, Dwayne. I'm glad that you're on here. That means that Becca is talking, and even her husband was like, I'm getting on. I love it. But I have watched, the challenges that they have and their ability to co-parent. And I can tell you, as a bonus mom, or I call myself like an auntie because she's old, she's the dog. How do you can't be a mama of somebody grown? That's just odd. And so what I do is I engage when she engages. I don't press myself upon her. If the situation doesn't have anything to do with me, I'm not involved. The situation doesn't have to do with a certain amount of money coming out of my household, I'm not involved. And I'm not talking about pennies. That's up to him. But if it's over a certain amount, he gets that. We have a conversation. But anything else, that's his job to provide for his child and whatever she needs. And that's a conversation between him and the mother. If I think there's some games being played, as a wife, I kind of step in and talk to him, but not from a place of, why you letting her control you? Like, no. And this is a conversation for those who are in situations where you show her picture. It will make it. I don't have my phone here, love. I do not. I did not bring my phone. And so therefore my phone is having technical difficulty. So I left it in the bedroom. He's like, show her picture. See, proud papa. And anyway, so I need to talk to the women who are involved with men who have children. You may be the second marriage or the second relationship or the relationship, outside of a set of children or a couple of sets of children. I know situations like that too. It is not your place to interfere in that relationship. It is your place to guide if you see somebody being manipulated and controlled every now and then, because that does happen. But sometimes you have to let a father allow his daughter to bat her eyelashes. You know what I mean? Like, you have to allow that to happen because that's what daughters do. Now, do I think it's right for daughters to learn to manipulate men? No. But what I'm saying is you have to let that man love his daughter or his son the way that he sees necessary. If you see something that you think is a little shady or there's an issue with it, then I think you address it, but you address it with him. Do not get on the phone with her. You guys are talking about people, and we're going to get into this, who have borderline personality disorders, who are narcissistic. All you're doing is creating more conflict. We had moments in our household, and let me go here. I'm about to be candid, baby. We had moments in our household where she would come visit, and we've had a great time. I remember there was a time where she did this whole presentation where she was going to call me Mama TJ. Well, shortly after she got home, that shifted. We don't know why it shifted, but I can guess. And so then I became Miss Tori again. You have to let that roll. Did it hurt me? Absolutely. But am I going to make that a sticking point as to why when she comes and I got an issue with her? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. We've had issues where I feel like she's done some things to me that I felt like, okay, that's a little shady, girlfriend. But did I assault her? No. Did I assault her with my words? No. And I know some of you have done these things, especially when the children are older. You can't do this. You can't do it. You are not their parent. And even when they come into your home, I had a moment where I was like, she can't come until she apologized to me. That was my moment. That didn't stay that way, but I definitely felt I felt some kind of way about it. I had to deal with it because that was one of those moments where I knew that she was acting out, and she might not know that she was acting out. Let me tell you something that I learned on a beautiful car ride coming back from testifying in a case concerning relocation. I got to sit in the car with one of the aforementioned relocation experts and psychologists in the country. In the country. And somehow we got on this topic. And in having the conversation, he asked me, he said, well, what is it that she's doing? And I don't even remember how we got on the conversation. And I just said, I engage when she engages. I'm not here to force myself upon her. I think it's wrong. And he said, yeah, you don't do that. And I said, but I've seen things that she's done. So that's how we got on it. He said, well, what has she done? And so I told him, he said, yeah, she's responding. He said, well, were you present before? Because she's testing you for some reason. And I explained to him that my husband and I were engaged previously. We were together in 2002 to about 2004. And one of the things that I did, I was very much so involved. I would send her gifts. When we went to see her, I would make sure that her and I had our own time because I would date her as well. And then when we broke up, I realized that no one might have explained to her, God forbid she's probably going to see this, and I need to have the talk with her at some point, but no one explained to her why I left. And so now some of her adult behavior has been to test based on this conversation with, I won't say his name, William, that's his first name. With William, he said, she's testing you to see if you're going to abandon her again. She's testing you. And she doesn't know that she's testing you, but she's testing you. And so some of you don't know that you are being tested to see if you are tried and true. You are being tested because the child has some concerns. Not just like my situation was, I did abandon her and didn't realize that I should have called. I don't know if the call would have got through, but I should have called to have that conversation with her so that she understood as much as a 9-10-year-old at that point could understand. Right? So let's deal with that first. Let's go, because that's a great segue into the three issues that I want to deal with tonight that are hindering you from being effective co-parents. Number one is abandonment issues. Number two is attachment issues. And number three is mental health issues. Those are the three we're going to cover tonight. Abandonment issues, and most of them are perceived abandonment issues, but abandonment issues, attachment issues, and mental health issues. Children who grow up without fathers may come to resent paternal figures due to perceived abandonment issues. This happens to be one of the reasons you guys fight so hard over parenting styles. Have you been in a co-parenting situation where the parent's like, well, you don't put them to bed on time. Oh, when they're at your house, it's just all lackadaisical and you're not really involved. That's typically what mothers say to fathers. You can't get caught up in the other person's parenting style. But one of the reasons you're getting caught up in that parenting style is because you have resentment towards your paternal figure. And a lot of men get this. They get this so much because women think that men are supposed to parent like they do. And when you don't parent like they do, men, when you don't parent like they do, you become, sorry, Tokyo's moving around. It becomes an issue and you're under a magnifying glass about everything you do. Oh, they don't go to bed on time. You don't do their homework correctly. Oh, the homework didn't end up in the folder that was supposed to be in to go back to school. Oh, their backpack was packed wrong. Oh, this and that was wrong. You become, they nitpick. Because the paternal parent, they resent the paternal parent in the first place. So paternal figures are resented due to perceived abandonment issues. And so men, I'm gonna say it again, but I'm gonna say it like this right now. The reason you're having so much challenge with the young woman is you might not have asked in the first place, where was her father? Was he active? Was he present? Just because he was in the home does not mean he was emotionally attached to her. Do they have an issue with the paternal figure in their life? Is their father an issue? Did they watch their mother nitpick at their father as to how he parented. Did the father abandon them, actually abandon them and not be in the home, or did he emotionally abandon them? So a key symptom to abandonment issues is the actual fear of abandonment. We've all been there. You are always on the watch for abandonment. So much so, you need all these reassurances, this person making sure that they're not going to leave you. You even go to great lengths to try to avoid being abandoned. Can we say people pleaser? You do whatever they want you to do. You do whatever they want you to do. Because you don't want to be abandoned, because you have all of these abandonment issues. And in having these abandonment issues and dealing with all of this stuff, you go to all these great lengths. And then you feel devastated when someone ends the relationship, which happens to be the inevitable. And in many ways, you got this double-edged sword. You got this double whammy going on. Because too often people with borderline disorder, personality disorder, both fear abandonment and have the symptoms that create such conflict with others that it often leads to abandonment that then reinforces their fear. It's a never-ending cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. Nydia said it, always waiting for the shoe to drop. Or you run and leave before you're left. Come on, Nydia, you done some work, girlfriend. You know it. People who have issues with abandonment abandon before they're abandoned. That's just who they are. People who are afraid of rejection reject before someone can reject them. Ladies, we've all been in those relationships. You thought it was you, really, even though he said it wasn't you. Girlfriend, it wasn't you. He was not going to be who you needed him to be. And yet you desired him so badly because you didn't want to be abandoned. You fought tooth and nail to keep this person around. Now you have a baby with him. And now you're still abandoned, left with a baby. And I'm not saying that this person intentionally did that, but I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk about having a bad or a broken picker here shortly. Because I don't think all men intentionally do that. I think some men, once again, they have such a guard up. They have such a shield. My husband and I were talking about this morning. There's such a shield. There's such a shield that they don't realize some of the behavior patterns that they have is leading them to abandon, like they're going to abandon you. It's not, I don't think it's conscious most times. And I know women sometimes feel like men are consciously manipulating them and consciously cheating on them and consciously doing. I don't think it's always conscious with fatherless individuals. I think it's cyclical. I think it's subconscious, and I think it's spiritual. Those are the two things I think it is. And maybe even emotional in that sense. Maybe emotional goes with subconscious a little bit. But I think it's those components. And so before you're quick to judge a man and say he's a cheater, he's a dog, he's that, maybe he's just broken. Before you're quick to say a mother is narcissistic and she's all these things, before we get to all these diagnoses about people, maybe she's just broken. Maybe she's just been hurt so badly that those things have fractured her mind and her mental state. And for us believers out there, has fractured your spiritual state. You go to church every Sunday, but you still keeping children from their daddies. I know reverends who've done that. I fought reverends in court. There's a ripoff report right now about me that was made by a reverend, and she was doing it to discredit me. Oh yeah. So we need to be very clear. You going to church don't mean nothing to me. It may mean something to somebody else, but it does. I've seen some stuff. So Becca says, that's my sister, the people pleaser. I'm the oversharer, hoping people won't leave me because I'm broken. Ooh wee. Becca, that's some truth right there, girlfriend. Applause for even saying that. Now, I don't know if your sister gonna like you putting that out there about her. But I appreciate the honesty, because those who overshare, thinking that people are gonna see their worth and their value in that, or just know that they're going to be okay. Like, not even know they're gonna be okay, but just, I'm telling you all of this because I don't want you to leave. In some ways, that may be a little manipulation. I don't know you well enough to say that, but I think some people who do overshare can be perceived as, oh, something's off about them. They oversharing for a reason, and they overshare maybe trying to manipulate. But I don't always see it that way, but I definitely know people do, because I've had people have that conversation. Oh, she said this to me, and I think it was just to manipulate me to stay into the relationship. I've had that conversation. Stephen says, this describes my wife. Well, I'm glad to say that she is still, or see that she is still currently your wife, I believe. Nydia said you are on it tonight. Well, thank you, Nydia. My mother is broken for sure. Yes, so I'm just looking at all y'all comments because I like the dialogue. So I'm gonna make sure that I'm on point and that I'm having the communication and we continue to have an open dialogue. So do you guys get that personality disorders both fear abandonment and then have the symptoms that create conflict with others? So those of you who say, my mother's has a personality or borderline personality disorder. My ex has a borderline personality disorder, all those things. They can't help that. They need tools. They're afraid of you leaving. The conflict has caused, the symptoms cause conflict. And so then you leave. And now you're in a wave because now you're gone. Like the articles that I was reading about this said that those who have borderline personality disorder take the breakup in relationships so hard. It is almost, you can't even describe how hard they take it. It breaks them in ways that it does not break the regular person. It destroys them in ways that you just can't understand. Sometimes we hold on to the wrong person, not because we truly want them, but like you said, you don't want the feeling of abandonment, which has nothing to do with the other person. Yeah, this has nothing to do with them. You don't want to be abandoned again. And so you create a situation that person ain't even called to be with you. It's not even God's best for you. Let him go. But I want you to have some empathy a little bit tonight, because as we're talking about you and your co-parenting style and healing, maybe you can look at the other parent a little bit and see if they've got all these emotional issues. They're broken. I know it's hard to see past all of the stuff they've done, the false allegations, the withholding the children, the denying access, just all the calls and the text messages and all the stuff that's caused you anxiety, right? Reinforcing something we're going to get into later about the mental health piece. But I want you to have empathy for them tonight. I want you to see them in a different kind of way. I want you to see them differently tonight. Because if you can empathize with them, maybe your approach can be different towards them, which limits the conflict that you may have with them, right? Which brings it to a minimum. Let's get into attachment issues. Unintended consequences of creating difficulties in the development of friendships and healthy relationships. Okay, I want to read something here to you. I got all my screens up so I can read certain things to you. This particular article, I'm going to post it for you. Really, I liked it. It was short, straight to the point. So as we are talking about attachment issues, this is talking about what is attachment disorder. Something that I'm going to read on here that I'm like, woo! Typically, attachment disorder is diagnosed in children under the age of 5. It is often the result of severe neglect, abuse, or other trauma in childhood that impacts the child's ability to form secure attachments. Children develop attachment disorder when they are unable to bond with a caregiver. That is one of the issues that happens in fatherless homes, whether you know it or not. The inability to bond with a caregiver is an attachment issue in a fatherless home all by itself, okay? So we don't even have to go, well, I wonder if, no, that's like, it's not listed as a statistic, but it is listed as an attachment issue when you start looking up the issues that fatherless children have concerning bonding and the caregiver and resenting a parent. Bonding is an issue. This could happen for a number of reasons. The caregiver may be unable to meet the child's needs for social interaction or affection. The child may move frequently from one foster home to another, making it impossible to bond with one particular caregiver. Or the child might live in a home with a high child to adult ratio, resulting in a lack of attention and care for adults, or from adults, I'm sorry. Although attachment disorder is not diagnosed after the age of 5, okay? It is not diagnosed after the age of 5. There is compelling evidence that untreated attachment disorder, they call it AD, leads to problems later in life. Adults who suffer from AD seem to have a higher likelihood of clinical depression and substance abuse. How many of you guys know that those are some of the top issues or statistics in fatherless homes? They often carry their injured attachment patterns with them into adulthood. Subconsciously, adults with AD tend to choose spouses, y'all ready for this? Tend to choose spouses or partners who resemble one of their parents so they can recreate their childhood and get it right this time. Blew my mind. Okay, can we have that? Can I remix? Can I remix that real quick for y'all? They often carry their injured attachment patterns with them into adulthood. Subconsciously, adults with AD tend to choose spouses or partners who resemble one of their parents so they can recreate their childhood and get it right this time. But without an understanding of the reasons of their behaviors, they are seldom successful. That right there blew me away. Blew me away. So before I go into some of your questions, I want you to think about that. Who was the partner that you chose? The partner that we're talking about that you have to co-parent with because you guys have moved on from relationships. What was the reason that you chose them? If you really think about it, that may be the journaling exercise. As adults with AD unwittingly recreate the problems of their family of origin, they pass their problems along to their children. Statistics show that about 3/4 of children whose parents were diagnosed with AD as children developed the disorder themselves. Y'all not ready for that? And it goes into all these different attachment issues and treatment and what you can do. I won't post the article because it gets into all these different therapies you can do, and I'm not here for that. I'm not here to have that conversation with you. Okay, so parallel something. Yeah. Well, parallel parenting is one thing. I don't know if that's what your therapist was talking about. I'm going to get to Becca and Stefan's question in a moment. I forgot what the exact name is. Yeah. So did you pick this person to recreate your childhood to get it right? Stefan, you say, how do you have empathy on a person that lies on you, then calls you when they have no one else? Sounds manipulative. That's why I said they're broken. Can we look at it past the lies and the manipulation? She's probably in that borderline personality disorder. I'm not here to diagnose not one person, so don't ever say that. Let me rewind that back. She probably has some characteristics like we talked about earlier. And so therefore, you've got to look at it as number one, she didn't get some of the tools that she needs. And she's fighting tooth and nail because unfortunately, the abandonment that has caused the breakup or that is causing the challenges in your relationship, she doesn't know how to help. She doesn't know how to deal with them. She doesn't know how to get out of this cycle. And that's why I want you to have empathy for her, because she doesn't know that she's doing this in the way that she's doing it. She's doing it out of the need to feel secure and not wanting to be abandoned. Right? I get that becomes a challenge for you. But she doesn't know that she's doing it for that reason. And it is manipulative, right? It's very much so. That's why I said earlier, people who manipulation is a thing. They manipulate to do this. Men and women do it, to stay in a relationship, to get out of a relationship, to guard in the midst of a relationship. It's all these different things. Becca says, I didn't bond with my mother. I felt I didn't belong. It was my sister and my mom and then me. Are you the middle child, Becca? Becca said, well, I don't know my dad, and my mother's nothing like my husband, so I like that. I chose my wife because she gave me lots of attention that my mother never gave me. Sounds like you were trying to recreate a childhood that you wanted to get right. And it's a tough thing, right? To look at that moment. When I read that line, I was like, woo! That's, don't you kind of burning a little bit. I felt a little like it was hot under here. I'm still married, so, and I don't have any children of my own at this point. We'll see what happens. Okay, we're still working on that idea. But I want to have that part right there. I'm sorry, you guys. It strikes me every time I see it that we're subconsciously choosing this individual that resembles one of our parents so that we can recreate our childhood. That strikes me. And maybe it strikes me because maybe I did that. My husband does remind me of my mother at times. He's getting better, but there are times when he doesn't. I'm like, So I got to look at myself a little bit in that, right? I got to look at myself concerning that part. So let's look at the mental health component. Coming from a fatherless home can contribute to a child having more emotional problems such as anxiety and depression. Fatherless children may start thinking that they are worthless than other children who have fathers and wonder why their father abandoned them. So that's so harsh, right? When we're looking at growing up without our fathers and realizing that not having them in our lives has caused some things. And it's caused some issues within us. And then we're saying, well, if I had my dad, then my life would be this way or that way. We can't guarantee that either. We can't. As much as we'd like to, we can't. Our parents are imperfect people. They don't have everything together, right? So you can't say that. And that, I don't want you to ever feel worthless. I don't want you to ever feel like there's no value in you, especially after being in certain relationships that some of you I know have been in, and the people have made you feel that way. There's no way possible that you should ever feel that way, especially from a person who is just as human as you, trying to tell you or make you feel like you're worthless. You're more valuable than you actually know. You just haven't met the person who actually sees that, right? Or Becca sounds like she's met it. But some of us have not on here who have not met him. I've met him. My husband makes me feel valuable, even when I don't feel that way. Even when we're in our worst moments, I have watched my husband and I go from arguing, and let's say I got a call or something from my mother, I'm having a bad day at work. We snap out of what we're dealing with, and he always has a way of making sure that I know that he's proud of me, making sure that he knows that he supports me. That most times can be the glue in my marriage, right? Because when we're fighting, it can get intense. It can get very intense, and we don't like each other. But he can snap out of that moment when someone else is coming for me and make sure that they know that he's not playing that game. That's been something different for me. I've never felt, in that sense, worthless in my marriage. And I'm saying this to say we have to choose people who make us feel loved the way God wants us to feel loved, but also give us truth concerning who we are. You can't get someone who's a yes person. You can't get someone who's always going to make you feel like you're everything and you do nothing wrong. That's not, I'm not a proponent of that. That's why if I want you to write down your truth on paper, I'm okay with people sharing my truth, or Tori, just how I feel about what you did, right? It's called conflict. Many of us avoid it. Oh, there it is. That's the answer. The reason you don't want to journal is because you're trying to avoid conflict. That's the answer. Conflict within yourself. Becca says, my husband is nurturing and my mother is like a giant thorn bush. I don't try to get close. Don't try to get close or, oh, you will get hurt. I had my dad. I just fear for my 3 daughters with no father in the home. Did your wife have her dad? And was he emotionally there? That's why I said earlier, yes, you owe 25 cents in the jar for cussing on. Yeah, we got a cuss jar going on, y'all. You were saying damn on the screen. And now he's going to try to make me pay 25 cents for repeating what he said, but I'm not doing it. But did she have her father is the question. And if she did, was she emotionally attached to him? Did she have a bond with him? Because, and I get that you had your father, and if you had your father, why are you so afraid, Stephen or Stefan? Why are you so afraid that your 3 daughters won't have their father? So when we're looking at the mental health issues, we talked about borderline personality disorder. We talked about attachment disorder. We've talked about now anxiety and depression. You guys know what those are. I don't really need to go into, we go into them, and we really talked about anxiety last week. I didn't put the picture of the book on. I will do that because it's talking about healing your anxiety in 45 days, which is a really, really good book. Let me see. So how your fatherlessness is impacting your co-parenting. In some ways, you are reliving your childhood with your ex. Own it, embrace it, deal with it. And that's the reason you can't co-parent. Because your childhood is playing out in this relationship with your ex. I want to make sure I see comments. See, there it is. Before I even move on, Stefan knows she had a foster dad and then moved with her bio mom. So now you're listening to this as a proactive move on what you're going to have to deal with. Have empathy. I don't want you to be manipulated. I don't want you to be used, but I want you to have in your mind, and I'm going to post, and I'll send you an article that I read about the borderline personality disorder, just so you can see it. And I'll send it to you in a private message after I get off this Facebook Live. But I need you to know you're proactive on this thing, because if she didn't have her dad and had a foster dad, her ability to see the importance of you can be very challenging. Okay. My wife does everything to keep me from them. We are in and out of court for custody. Yeah. And the reason for that is because now you've triggered her conflict, her symptoms concerning conflict. You've triggered her abandonment issues. You've triggered those things. And in triggering those things, now you're going to get the highest conflict possible. And she can't control it because she's not in therapy to get it under control. That's why. See, now you list in a whole bunch of stuff that leads to all of the things that we're talking about. Her mom's husband molested her. Now we're dealing with a lot of different things that is causing her navigation system to lead her into keeping you from the children, causing you to come in and out of court. It's all about conflict. So I'm going to go back to this. How your fatherlessness is impacting your co-parenting. You're reliving your childhood with your ex. Your abandonment issues is number 1. You recognize the cycle and you'll fight tooth and nail to recreate the situation, whether you know it or not, subconsciously. And like Stefan is doing, ensure the same thing doesn't happen to you. So Stefan is doing what many fathers do. They're fighting tooth and nail to ensure that their children will not grow up without a father, which then causes them to be all in or nothing, right? They're like all in. And then the woman, she's recreating the cycle subconsciously. She has no idea she's doing this. And so now you have conflict at the greatest level, because he's fighting to ensure that he won't be abandoned. His children won't be without a father. He won't be, as some people call it, a childless father. And she's fighting to ensure that the cycle is repeated, because she has no idea there's even a cycle. That's how your fatherlessness is impacting your co-parenting, which leads to number 2. Conflict is where you find comfort. She finds comfort in conflict. It's all she knows. So you have to understand that people who come from fatherless homes they deal with conflict, but they won't ever face conflict. You understand the difference? They're used to being entrenched in conflict, parents fighting, bickering, whatever that situation may be. They're used to dealing with, so it's comfortable for them, but they'll never come face to face with it. They'll never face conflict head on. They will always do it from a passive aggressive place. If they're going to face it, it'll always be passive aggressive. So if conflict is where you're comfortable, we have to find a way to help you understand that facing conflict and dealing with conflict is a healing thing. But if you always deal with it from a passive aggressive place, or a place like we're talking about with Stefan, that's high conflict, that's not going to get resolved. You got all these different people looking in on your situation, dictating to you what you've got to do and what you can do concerning your children. Then guess what? You're in a situation you cannot win. So as we're dealing with, number one is abandonment issues, recognizing the cycle that's being repeated and the fight that fathers have to reinsure or ensure that their children don't go through this thing the way that they went through, or they're afraid they're going to go through. Number two, conflict is where you find comfort. Number three, your picker is broken. You picked the parent you struggled bonding with. You picked the parent that gave you the most issues. You picked the parent that abused you. You picked the parent that knew how to neglect you. You're wondering why the person that you're with has no attachment towards you, has no ability to attach to you. You pick the person that has the least ability to do so. Do you realize that fatherless children are highly sexual, but lack the ability to be intimate and connect? That's what it is. So fatherless children can have sex with you all day, and you can think that they're connecting to you, but they're not, because they lack intimacy. You don't know much about these people. Not if they haven't done the work, because they haven't shared a lot with you. You think you know something about them because they shared just enough to make you think you knew enough. We can say that's manipulation. We can say that's a lot of different things. I'm going to say tonight, just for the sake of healing, they're guarded because they're broken. We can't always go to the negative on people because we don't necessarily know all of their journey. So number three, your picker's broken. You subconsciously picked the parent you struggled bonding with. And now you're wondering why this person doesn't have a bond with you and has no ability to parent with you. They don't have a connection to you. That's why. They lack connection to you. You could have been married to them, I don't care how long. If you guys are in high conflict like that, there's an issue with their ability to connect with you. Number four, it's hard to set aside emotions. How do you set aside emotions and your anger for the sake of your children when you never learned these behaviors as a fatherless child? You're still dealing with unresolved emotions of your own as an adult that came from your childhood. And now you're in a co-parenting situation that asks you to set aside your emotions for the best interest of the child. What child? Because at the end of the day, that's when you resort to acting like a child. Because for you, it becomes all about your emotions at that point. For you, it becomes about all the unresolved issues that you had in your childhood that you just didn't deal with it. Becca said, intimacy. I keep my therapist employed over the issue alone. Yeah. The inability to connect spiritually, physically, emotionally, intellectually, and just in day-to-day stuff. But people can connect on those hobbies real easy. And then you create a relationship off of hobbies and physical intimacy, and you're missing three other components. And the spiritual component and the intellectual component and the emotional component are some of the key ones. Like, those are the key factors. Anyone can have sex with you and make you feel like They're being intimate, but are they connected to you? Most times, no. People don't understand that sex and intimacy, or that intimacy is not necessarily sex. Exactly, Nydia. Most people don't know that. So you're having these issues connecting simply because that button isn't turned on for some of these people. If you've been molested, grew up in foster care, you've been neglected because somehow, and probably abused because somehow you ended up in foster care. You're talking about 4 different issues, and you want that person to be able to set aside their emotions for the betterment of the children? Which child are you talking about? Because I'm still dealing with childhood stuff. I still feel like I'm the child, right? That's why you see the challenges within these co-parenting issues. People acting childish. Maybe they are. Maybe it's triggering. Can we use that word again? We don't like that word. Maybe it's triggering their childhood and putting them back in a childlike state. We don't know what age they're at when this conflict comes up because it depends on whatever the situation is. They could be 9 when they watch their parents not set aside their emotions. They could be 5 when they were molested and they kind of remember it, but they don't remember it. Someone told them that it happened and they've heard whispers. It's a lot of stuff that goes on. Just because we grow up doesn't mean we get the development that we need in order to be successful as adults, not career-wise. I'm talking about developmentally, emotionally, in ways that are necessary to have successful relationships. And so my last one is number 5. How can I co-parent when all I see is me? We always say there's no I in the team. And if you never saw what a team looks like from both of your parents, either being in the same home or co-parenting effectively, how can I co-parent when I is all I see? What I want, what I need, how I need it. I don't want my children to grow up without a father, and I get that that's a thing. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't see any value in him being in the lives of the children because I didn't have my father. I want him to parent like this because that's what I read and that's what I think is the best way. It's too much I going on. And so in order for you to effectively co-parent, there's some things we got to deal with. These are the top 5. I believe if you deal with these top 5 things, you'll be in a much better place than most people. But you've got to deal with them. You said, I'm getting there, Becca. I know. And it's a journey. It's part of the process. But in co-parenting, you've got to do all of these things. So one is you got to deal with your abandonment issues because you've got this cycle and you'll destroy the children in the midst of it. You'll destroy the children. And the one who, my husband and I were talking about this the other day, the story in the Bible where one lady has stolen a baby. She stole it from another woman. They're before the judge and they both say, this is my baby. And the judge was like, well, and it was so intense. So the judge said, well, how about we just cut the baby in half and give you one half and you the other half? Clearly this is not going to work, people, right? So the one lady who stole the baby says, cut the baby in half. Go ahead. And the lady whose baby actually was, she said, no, don't cut the baby in half. Just raise the baby, take care of the baby, love the baby. I'm fine. The judge knew she was the mother and gave the baby to her. That's just, right? But sometimes in these custody battles, there's one person who's willing to cut the baby in half, just refusing to co-parent properly. Let's just cut the baby in half. And their actions, the things that they speak and say to the children or around the children, their body language, they may not, I hear this all the time, I don't say anything, I don't talk bad about their daddy, blah, 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 right? Yeah, but your body language when he shows up, they see how you cringe. You then drill them when they come home. What'd you do? How'd you do it? Blah, blah, blah. See, they know that you are not in their corner concerning this other parent. Children are smarter than you give them credit for. They know that you are clearly asking them questions because you have an issue with this parent. You don't ask them questions about going over to Billy's house like that. Who were you with? What'd you do? When did you go to bed? What you asking all these questions? All these questions. And I want you to be okay with, maybe I'm going to go back to your picker is broken. Maybe your picker was broken. You've gotten it right. You've gotten better. You pick someone like Becca and Dwayne, they seem to have a loving relationship and something that they can hold on to. But I want you to know, you can't feel guilty about it because you have children here. And I don't want you to be in a place where because of what I said, you're feeling like, man, my picker was broken. Because some of us have that self-talk, and you'll start thinking about your picker all day and all night, and it'll cause you to feel guilty and begin to condemn yourself. That's not what I'm saying to you. Hear the truth, make the adjustment. Hear the truth, make the adjustment. Don't let it cause you condemnation. Okay, hold on, where are we at? King Solomon, you got that right. Okay, where are we? I've come to realize I've been afraid to be a mom because I don't want to mess them up because I am so self-aware of how broken I am. Nydia, girlfriend, it crosses my mind from time to time. I am 45 years old, no children. I planned it that way in a sense because I didn't want to be a single mother. And I watched my mother not struggle financially, but struggle emotionally and mentally. And I think a lot of my mother's challenges concerning her different disorders comes from her childhood with her own mother. And I've watched that cycle repeat itself. And every now and then it'll cross my mind, would I be a good mother? I'm a good mother to Tokyo. So I'm hoping that would translate, right? But that's how they find out who their real mom is. That's very true. Let me see. They know when their parents are not in accordance with each other. They know when something is off. That's why I don't understand why people say, I'm just married for the children. Yeah, that's a hard one because dads you want the dad in the home, but you don't want people in the home in conflict. And you don't want people in the home not loving each other. So it's a hard one. Do you stay for the children or do you leave? That's something I won't answer for anybody else. My husband and I said, well, you're just going to have like the basement or the bedroom or something. I know people whose parents live next door to each other to ensure that the dad might not have been in the home. They literally live next door to each other so that they could have the best of both worlds. That is setting your hurt and your pain and your emotions aside. We saw a huge shift in my husband's daughter as soon as she got in the car to go home. Yeah. Look, we have to do our best not to cause our children to repeat the same cycles that we've been through. We have to do it. And growing up fatherless, I made some choices in my adult life that now are causing me to have to do things like go to the infertility doctor, which is not pleasant, which is another component that adds weight. Okay, so, but I didn't want to be a single mom. And I had to make hard choices back then, which now feels like sometimes those choices have made this part of the journey even harder. I struggle some days with it because I understand just the simple challenges of not wanting to repeat the cycle. But I think I was a little stringent and strict about it, that I'm now 45 trying to figure out how to have children from going to infertility and all these different avenues. So it's tough either way. It's tough either way. I wish I would have hit the button much earlier, meaning to have children. Let me see. My husband says most fathers will stay because they're afraid of what might happen. Yeah, but unfortunately, babe, 57% of women file for divorce. So the women don't stay. And if the women aren't going to stay, you don't get to stay. So what do you do with that? And Stefan says, yes, they will. Yeah, because men will stick it out because for the sake of the children, right? That's what they want to do. One day I'm going to get him on here, you guys. I'm going to make him sit. When I get my nice little section together and I finally finish unpacking and setting up the room the way that I want it to be, having the time to do that, I'm going to have him sit on the couch. And he's going to talk to you about his having to parent long distance. Yeah, I think, my love, that is a vital conversation for men. Wasn't easy. He had some challenges, but it ensured that he had a relationship with his daughter. And yeah, driving 2 or 3 times a month from Atlanta to Tulsa, Oklahoma is not an easy task, but it's something he did because he needed to because my husband grew up without his dad. But I've been a witness to couples staying together for the facade, knowing doggone well they can't stand each other. I get it. That's why I said, Nydia, it's a tough thing. I can't give someone the answer as to why they should or should not do that. I just know that children have better outcomes when fathers are in the home. And so that's why I gave the caveat to, if you can't be in the home, or you want to stay in the home, but you guys don't like each other, maybe just move next door. Like my girlfriend from Australia, her parents literally live next door to each other. Swing one door open, go to another one. Now, some of you don't like each other enough to do that, but for the sake of the children, you might have to promise you that you're staying. Oh yeah. My husband was like, I promise you stay and we're going to be roommates. That's what he said. Because I'm going to share this, babe. I think this is okay to share. My husband's like, I'm not having children where I have to co-parent like that again. He's not doing that again. And I have to acknowledge that. I'm like, I get it. Because I didn't want to be a single parent. So what, I'm going to have children with him and then up and be a single parent? Nah. We waited this long. Let me see. Oh, I'm breaking up. You can't hear me. Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, are you joking? I don't know. Stefan says, I believe in marriage for life. Plus, I love my wife despite our issues. Wow. Well, Stefan, I'm going to tell you, I'm adding you to the prayer list. How about that? Because if you love her in spite of, if you love her with faults and all, and you want to be in the home with your children, but there's all these things going on, I want you to stay in the household. I want you to be able to be married to the woman that you love. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's a beautiful thing, to unconditionally love her despite the issues. That's a beautiful thing, because not everybody has that ability. It is very hard. Oh, you were joking. Okay. If I'm breaking it. Yeah, you're funny. It's so sad to watch how hard the dads try while seeing how manipulative the ex is. It breaks my heart. Absolutely. It is heartbreaking. But tonight, as I'm about to get off of here, I want you guys to have a new perspective. We've talked about how fatherlessness affects the ability to co-parent. We've listed a lot of things that you guys have even dealt with personally, like yourself. So instead of seeing them, like I said, as manipulators, as liars, as narcissistic, as, oh, they've got borderline personality disorder. And trust me, I hear it all the time. I go to these conferences, I'm on the phone, and it's like, the person's broken. They're broken, and they need help. Shoot. Send them the link to come to Healing Tuesday. Hopefully we're talking about something that can benefit them. Send them this link so that they can watch it. Empathize with them. Step into their shoes for a moment. That's a part of emotional intelligence. You'll get further with empathy than you will with the anger that you feel, because I know you feel it. I know you feel it. Shoot. I used to be like, and then I'd be over here angry as a bonus mama. Angry. I gotta fix this. I gotta fix my response to something that is not even my responsibility or even my thing. Why am I responding to my husband's relationship with his daughter? I shouldn't be. Even when it's how she treats me. That's really his relationship with her. Some of you ladies are smothering the relationship. You know what I do when she's here? They have a thing, they love playing dominoes and cards together. You want to play? No. I go in the other room. People can see that as me being distant. What I'm trying to do is ensure that they have their time together. She's only with us half the time for like 11 days or so. When she was in college, she had Christmas for 11 days and then summer for 11 days. She comes see us. I'm going to smother like the time? Nah, I'm not. That's their thing, and I wanted to keep it their thing. That's their tradition. There's certain things we do together, but I'm not going to take up all the time. Stop trying to take up all the time. You with this person 340 something days out of the year. Some of you have every other weekend, 6 days out of the month, and some of you ladies are smothering. You're all hands on. Go sit down. Like, you would have less stress if you just sat down somewhere. Just go sit down. It's not your responsibility. Trust him to do what needs to be done. Trust him. Oh, yeah, my husband, I forgot to say that. Share to your friends. Share, share, share. Because you never know who might need this. I said it before. Sometimes just because a man is in the home doesn't mean he's there. Yeah, mentally or emotionally. I've seen couples raising children who had both parents. Yep, very much so. And that's the trap. That's why I'm like, Nydia, you're on it. Being a bonus mom was awesome, even if their mom hated me. And typically, the mamas don't like you very much. His daughter is 19 now. We haven't seen or spoken to her in 6 years. Wow. Alienated parent. Okay. All right. So that's another prayer list. I always go through, I listen to these after the fact and write down things. So I'll remember that. That's why you guys see me like tonight or tomorrow, I go and I comment and like and heart, because I'm actually listening to it again and pulling notes from it and different things that I need to pray about and posts that I need to make. But I want to end it now because we've been on an hour and 7 minutes, almost 8. I hope this helps someone. I hope this was a benefit to you in some way, shape, or form. It is my mission to do that and to assist. It is a blessing to always be able to come on here and have this dialogue with you guys, knowing that it's not easy to share some of the things that you share. It's not easy for me to share some of the stuff I share. So I thank you for being vulnerable with me. It takes courage to be able to do this. And knowing that some people could click in and the world can see. Nidhi says, I guess my biggest concern is the children's emotional instability. So to raise a child in a loveless home or home full of conflict to me is heartbreaking. It is. It is always heartbreaking, but this is the important caveat that we need to ensure about tonight. We can heal heartbreak. Heartbreak can be healed, right? One of my favorite scriptures that I say all the time is the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to heal the brokenhearted, right? And then it goes on to different things, but broken heart can be healed. And so we can fix broken hearts. We can do that. The problem becomes some of these people like Becca and the 6 years and some of the challenges that go on in some of these relationships can get so out of hand that we've gone past heartbreak into trauma. And trauma that's left alone too long begins to create disorders and behaviors that leads into mental health issues and leads into some of these things that we've not only talked about tonight, but we've talked about previously. So we don't want to go past heartbreak. I believe trauma can be reversed, but it takes a lot more work to reverse trauma than it does heartbreak, right? And so tonight, I hope and I pray that you guys were blessed by this conversation. Next week, don't know what the topic is yet because you guys have emailed me a few, and this one was something that someone asked, and I know she'll be watching. She'll have her son watch. I'm praying that this is the key that unlocks the door for even that gentleman pertaining to what he's going through. Stefan, thank you so much for sharing. You were on my heart. You were on my prayer list, because I don't care if you texted, it almost like I could hear you saying how much you loved her and you wanted to stay. And I felt it. And that's going to be very much so at the top of my prayer list. I felt it when you typed that. And that's very important to me. If you love your wife and you want your children, love your children. So we need to figure out how to get some adjustments so that you don't have to finish this process and you can have your family. That's what I'm feeling, and that's what I want for you. So I will see you guys next Tuesday. Remember that now we are starting to do giveaways. So this week I'll hold off on my giveaway since nobody journaled. And we'll see what happens next week. I don't know if it'll be a journaling thing. I don't know what I'm going to bring up in order to give away my gifts, but I'll have t-shirts, I'll have Fatherless awareness pins, some other books that I have, some children's books that I have, and stuff like that. But I want to make sure that I'm always an asset to you. So once again, I am Dr. Tori J. Isaiah, okay. Yes, Stefan, I'm Dr. Tori J. I'm the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. And I love coming and sharing with you guys every Tuesday night for Healing Tuesday. And I look forward to seeing you next week. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.